We have our sliding compound miter box and our 12-inch standard compound miter box. Then we have another station over here, another 12-inch standard compound miter box. Alright, today I'm going to show you the compound miter box and a couple important features of it and the components. So we have our fence right here, we have the table, we have the blade guard, there's the blade. Over here we have our trigger and our handle. This is the motor area. Over here we can adjust for different angles. You just squeeze this bottom button and then swing this across, and then the top goes down to lock it. So we have our margin of safety lines right here. One of the things that is very important when using the miter box is to keep your stock or your board up against the fence and down on the table. The other really important thing obviously is to keep your hands past the margin of safety lines. If your board is under 12 inches long, you need to use a clamp. If it's over 12 inches long, you'll have enough room to put your hand here off to the side. So I'm going to put my hand off to the side. I always have to squeeze the trigger, let the motor reach full RPM before I make the cut. I never want to start the motor with it touching the stock, because then it acts as a wheel and will grab the stock and throw it. After I make the cut, I'm going to hold the blade down until the motor comes to a complete stop before I touch or move anything. Then I move on to the next one. The biggest thing I see wrong is kids will have the board out like this. Alright, so then as they make their cut, what happens is it throws the blade throws the board into the back and it squishes their fingers. So it hurts their fingers pretty badly. So you want to make sure that the board is up against the fence and down on the table. And if you're holding the blade down until it makes a complete stop, you won't have any other problems. One time I had a college student, when he moved over to make another cut, the blade was still moving and he nicked his finger just a little bit because he didn't hold it down until the blade stopped. Also, if you hold it down until the blade stops, if there's a little piece of wood in there, it's not going to fly out and bounce against the wall and hit you. Usually that wouldn't hurt you at all, but it's still best practice. So this is just a standard miter box. It's still a compound. We can loosen this back dial here, and it can do a couple of different do a compound angle, but that's something we're really not going to do much in here. For more advanced crown moldings is when you would use the compound feature. This angle feature we do use quite a bit. Okay, so here's your miter feature. Remember just to lift this up and move it over. Make sure this is up before you move it. If you can't figure this out or if this isn't going good, please don't force it. Anything in the room, if it doesn't move easily, that means there's a lock on it or there's a feature stopping it from moving. Everything's in good working order, so if there is a problem, that's what it would be. You just have to kind of know how to operate it. I'd be happy to give you a once-through on that. Sliding compound miter box. Another great saw. This one's quite a bit more pricey than the other one. The other one's around $300. This is around $650. So it's more of an investment. It can cut a much wider board though. We can cut a 12-inch wide board here, and whereas the other saw is only an 8-inch wide board. So you can cut a board that's much wider. We're only going to cross cut on both miter boxes. You're never going to rip cut on here at all. That can be very dangerous. The blade isn't set up for rip cutting. It's only set up for cross cutting, and you can bind the blade and pinch the stock. The sliding miter box is just a little bit more dangerous because it has a slide feature. So this whole motor assembly moves up back and forth, and what can happen is if you try to cut a wide board going this way, the blade can walk across the board. So best practice is to go all the way out, down, and then in. So all the way out, down, and then in. So that will help keep the blade direction going the right way, and it will not walk across the board. Because if you look right here, if I have my board right here, and if I go this way, it has a tendency to want to walk across the board. One other really important aspect is, let's say I'm just cutting a narrow board like this, but the saw is out quite a ways like this. If I go to make the cut right here, it's not going to cut all the way through the board. So what I have to do is push this all the way back, and you'll see this bar right here. It needs to go all the way back to where it's not visible. And then there's a little lock nut right here, just a small little nut that helps to keep this thing so it doesn't slide. So if you're just cutting narrow boards, you actually want to reach back here and lock this so it doesn't slide. And that will kind of help you out. These features are a lot like the other Miterbox. You can kind of swivel this where you need to go. You push it on this top button, and then this locks it. So it's just kind of a way to get your miters where they need to be. Okay, so to clamp this board, I'm just going to position it, push my clamp down. If it doesn't want to lock in place, I might have to loosen this back knob just a little bit, and then I can lock it in place. So the board shouldn't move very much. So right now it's in there pretty good. I can pull it out just a little bit, make sure it's against the fence, but it doesn't move left or right. Once again, here's my board. I'd have my mark on there. Clamp it to where you can grasp the board well. I'm going to put my hand over here to the margin of safety, or I can put my hand on the clamp. I usually want my hand somewhere. If you just have your hand floating out here, I don't consider that safe practice. So the hand needs to be there on the clamp, or on the fence, or on the board if the board is long enough. If the board's under 12 inches, your hand should not be on the board. It should just be on the clamp or the fence. So I can start this out. And they come down. Now I'm going to demonstrate cross-cutting a wider board using the slide feature. So here's my wider piece of plywood. For this, just using plywood, you can cut plywood on here or solid wood in this width, so up to 12 inches. I don't need to use the clamp really because my board's kind of wide, but the clamp's here, so I'm just going to use it anyway. I'm going to go all the way out first. Okay, so real simple. You just have to remember out, down, and then back. Okay, out, down, and then back. That's the best safe practices for this saw. When you're done, it'd be great if you could clean up some of these small scrap pieces. Even vacuum. Here's our vacuum system right here. You can vacuum the area. Oh, I'd appreciate that. All right, have a great day.